All right, everyone, welcome back to the Crazy Nomad podcast. I am super excited to be here today. We have a whole different type of guest on today. Usually we have a lot of online business owners, but I wanted to bring on a totally different aspect. So Emery works on super yachts. So this is completely different. A lot of people want to work outside of the normal 9 to 5, not sure how to do it and want to travel a lot. And this could be a great option for you. So I'm super excited to hear her story. However, tell us what life is really like and kind of get into it. So Emery, thank you for coming on.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited.
Yes, can't wait. So give everyone a little bit of backstory, where you're from, how you got into this industry, why you chose yachting, and yeah, let us know.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Seattle, Washington, just shy outside of it. And I was going to Oregon State for college. And, I was really into social media and I was playing soccer there. So I was running like the social media page and I was working in an office like almost every day for most of my senior year. And I kind of like realized that I hated it. It just like I like wasn't into like not seeing daylight. And back home in Seattle, my mom actually just rented out a place on our property to these South Africans. And for people who don't know, back in South Africa, this is a huge industry. The yachting industry is. Um, Almost like 90% of the people I meet are South Africans. So they move into this little rental unit and they start telling my mom about, sort of what they do, their positions, and basically like where they've gone in the world. And at first, she was a typical mom and she was saying, don't tell my kids this, like they're going to do this 100%, like without a doubt.
Yeah.
And I think like a week went by and she was so excited about it. She was like, okay, you know what? Like, we have to do this. Like, I think this is a great opportunity. So, honestly, like a week after I graduated, I hopped over to the Maritime Institute in Seattle, got my mandatory classes, which is an STCW. That's like a week-long course of like firefighting. Like you literally like head to toe, you're like in a firefighter's uniform. You have oxygen like tank and like you're literally putting out a fire. Yeah. And then like water safety, CPR, just kind of the safety basics. And you get like a physical done to make sure that you can go, a long time without seeing land. And yeah. And then yeah, you start applying and I started applying and I just stumbled onto a great first boat and I kind of just jumped in from there.
That's awesome. So what was your first experience like? The first time you got on the boat and the first kind of, job? What was that like kind of getting used to working on boats?
I was so nervous. Like I'm like a nervous person in general usually, but that like pushed me over. Like I was so out of my comfort zone. You're basically going on to someone's second home and you're saying, "Hi, like I'm going to start serving and helping you tie up your multi-million dollar yacht and I'm going to start cleaning your bedroom." Like it's very different. And this first boat that I got on, I think it was 83 feet. So I was a deck stew. So I worked on the outside and on the interior, which is great. I mean, if anyone's getting started in the industry, definitely do deck stew. Like you learn everything. Um, and they actually flew me out on one of those little floater planes from Seattle over to Canada. That's where the boat was at the time. So it was just me and like two other people and then the pilot that was in this tiny little floater plane I've never been on before in my entire life. And I'm just like looking around, like, what the fuck am I doing? I'm like, what am I getting myself into? And yeah, I mean, we kind of bond, like it was a great experience. Like these owners were absolutely incredible. They wanted me to experience everything that they kind of were as well. So they would bring me to dinner. We would go and do, like fun activities together. We would go and see different sites together. And it was really fun. It was a very welcoming first experience into the industry.
Nice. So how long have you been in the industry now?
Oh, 2.5 years now, actually. Yeah.
Nice. So was it like right before the pandemic
Yeah,
when you started it?
it was. Yeah. Yeah. So that summer was pandemic free. And then once I got onto my second boat, I think like halfway through there, that's when it started hitting. And
Gotcha.
we actually had a charter. We had a charter going on as it was hitting. And this guy that was on, I don't know if I can like say this. I won't say any names, but he like
Yeah.
worked high up. He worked like high up, with like government officials. And he was getting like all the first word of like what was happening with the pandemic. And he was sitting there. They were supposed to do it. They just extended their charter another week. And all of a sudden, the first day into the second week, he was like, no, we have to leave now. Like
Oh, wow.
everything's going to shut down. And I was like, all of the crew's like, what? We're like, well, we're like, where do we go? Like, what do
Yeah.
we do?
So what did you guys do in the
Yeah,
midst of
that
the
was,
pandemic? Did you like, I'm assuming obviously charters weren't going and
what's interesting is it really didn't slow down
wow.
um, when the pandemic hit. The whole industry, I mean, we were on like a private slash charter yacht. And yeah, I mean, we had another charter booked, I think like 2 weeks from then. And I vividly remember this whole family came on and, they were so conscious when they first got on. I went to, shake their hand, not thinking it wasn't
Yeah.
like I didn't care about the pandemic.
Yeah.
It was just like, hi, I'm going to greet you. And they're like, oh, no, 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 like touch elbows. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, you don't understand. We're going to be living on this boat together for the next like week.
Yep.
I'm like, but it kind of was just like, it is like, this is what's going to happen right now. Like it didn't slow down. So that was kind of crazy to see because the whole world was shutting down and we were continuing on with like normal life. It was very weird. And the only way that I would hear about it was like through my mom. Like when I would call her, she would tell me the news of like what was going on. Because we're not sitting there like watching TV either. We're constantly going.
Yep.
That was a very weird time in my life. Like I
Very
feel like the
interesting.
whole world was exploding. And we were kind of like, oh, what would you like for dinner tonight?
Yeah.
Like,
That is really interesting.
it was
So
very weird.
super curious
Yeah.
because I think a lot of people when they think of being a yacht stewardess or the whole lifestyle living on super yachts, you automatically think of like below deck. So how much of that lifestyle
Yeah.
is real and how much of that is like kind of just for a TV show?
I tell a lot of people it is done up. It's reality TV show. So a lot of the drama that happens on there wouldn't happen in that short amount of time. I
Gotcha.
will
Yeah.
say. We have had like my 2.5 years in this, I've had some crazy stuff, I mean, happen. And nothing that's like really affected me, but it's entertaining as hell to sit back and watch. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
it's very entertaining. So I would say it is fabricated to a point, but I mean, you put 9 people together and live in the same little box, like there's gonna be drama and there's gonna be hookups and there's gonna be so it does get a little crazy. And like everyone is mostly my age. I mean, it's
Okay.
like from 19 years old to 27, 28. That's like mostly the people that I've like met. And then obviously captains, chief stews, chefs, they kind of, are a bit older, but it's but yeah, that's what everyone always attributed, like, everyone watches that show. So when I say that, they don't say below deck, they always say under deck. They
Yeah.
never remember this below deck. I'm always referred to as under deck.
Under the deck. I love that.
Either one is
Yeah.
like fine.
Yep. So I have
Yeah.
friends who have worked on sailing boats as like hostesses, but obviously it's catamarans, a whole different. So like whenever my closest thing is like that, but it's nowhere near kind of a staff idea. So for the boat you're on now, what size boat is it? Is it like the biggest boat you've been on? How is it currently?
It's good. I'm working on a 142 foot, and this is the biggest yacht that I've worked on. And I think this is probably the biggest that I would go.
Why is that?
I really enjoy like this size. You can still really interact with the owners, and I think that's like my favorite part. Once you like start getting bigger, you know, the owners don't even know some of the people that work on the yacht. And I think that really turns me off. You know what I mean? Because then that's when you are really just, you're there to do like laundry and that's it. You don't see anything else. You're just doing laundry. Or some of the deckhands wake up at 12 and work until 4 a.m. and that's all you do on that boat. So I think I really enjoy the smaller boats because you kind of get to do, you know, a little bit of like exterior or interior, and you get to interact with the guests and the owners a little more than you would on a bigger yacht.
Gotcha. That makes sense. So where have you been able to travel while doing this job?
I was just thinking about this actually. So I guess from like timeline start to finish, I've been Canada, obviously the States, up the East Coast, a little bit into Maine, Costa Rica, the Bahamas, the British Virgin Islands, the US Virgin Islands, and now we're going to be Mexico. And now we're going to be traveling. We're currently in Antigua, and we're then going to start preparing to cross over to Palma de Mallorca over in Spain. And then we're going to start our whole summer and start doing sort of the milk run of the Mediterranean, which will be my first time doing it by yacht. So I'm very excited.
That'll be awesome.
Yeah.
So how long is the crossing to get there?
What I've been told is it's just shy of a month. So for a month, we're not going to be seeing basically any land, which is like a little scary sometimes, but you know, you trust the boat, you trust the captain, and like you just don't think about it like that, you know?
So how many people are on the boat for the crossing with you?
We run with a crew of 9, but the chef never crosses. She's done enough crossings in her life and she's just over it, you know? So she takes her holiday. And then I think she's the only one that's actually taking that off. So then we'll just be running with a crew of 8. And, you know, it's up to the captain to decide like whether they're going to hire, you know, a freelance to come on just for like the watches and stuff to even it out for like everyone.
Gotcha. So do you have to take shifts on watches?
Yeah. So I'll just use an example for like this last trip crossing from Florida to Antigua. I was 8 to 4. So 8 a.m. or sorry, 4 to 8, excuse me. So 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. and then 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. And then, everyone just kind of rotates through that, which I'm not a morning person. And that's probably the worst time that they could have given me. Like, probably the worst. I'll stay up. I'll do 8 to 12, but that's just horrible. That's like cruel. So but I don't know what the watch schedule is going to be like for the crossing to the Med, but I guess we'll see.
Find out. So I actually saw a video and I'm curious what it's like when you cross. I think it was on TikTok, and it was a girl they were doing on Superyacht, and they were crossing and they had to dump out all the alcohol in the boat. Is that true for you guys as well? Or are you allowed to like have a couple drinks? Like, how does that work when you cross?
Oh my God, I didn't see that. No, God, no. You're definitely not allowed to drink like that. I'm kind of concerned that the crew can't like control themselves for that boat. Like we just don't drink. Yeah, so for a whole month, I mean, no one's gonna be having like a sip of alcohol. Which on this boat, it's not an issue. On some boats, I probably would be. Like, that's kind of the like this industry definitely has like some alcohol abuse. You know what I mean? Like, there's some people
Yeah.
that like to party.
Yeah, I
So
can
that was
imagine.
also like very like eye-opening to see when you first get into it. Even like coming from college. Like, I was fresh out
Wow.
of college and I was like, Jesus Christ.
Do you think it's because people work, because you do charters and you're on for, how long are your charters on average?
The longest charter that I've done, thankfully, was just I think 2 weeks.
Okay.
So it is like I understand, and I'm not gonna sit here and be like I haven't completely, overdrank after a charter
Yeah.
because believe me, I have. But it is because you're working for like 2 weeks. And I've heard some people, like some owners will live on there for like 3 months. So it is like after you're done, you go and like blow off steam. So like I definitely like understand.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's like reining that in and like dialing it in, That
of
is
course.
like a trick.
Yeah, no, of
Yeah.
course. I'm sure. I mean, granted, like I said before, the first thing I always think of is like below deck. And it's like whenever they got off charter, there was always people who were like having a couple of drinks, and then there was always people who were like really going for it and like getting super,
Yeah.
super drunk. So I'm sure the partying is quite hard.
Yeah, there was so just like a story about that. And this is just to give like people insight. Like I don't want to like lie about this industry.
Yeah, of course.
Um this was my very first charter boat that I got on. And I was a sole stew. And it was me, the mate, and the captain. And the chef. That's what we ran with. But because I was so new, the captain decided to hire a chief stew to come in and like kind of show me the ropes and like show me what to do.
Yep.
And I remember like even the first day we were going provisioning and she was, we were running around and she was like, "Oh, do you want to get like a roadie?" And to be completely honest, I had no idea what that was. I was like, yeah. Yeah, but like, what's that? So we stop and like we have a drink at this like bar. And I was like, okay, like this girl's cool. I was like, all right, like grab a drink, like cool chief stew. Well, the charter was a week long, and finally the captain came up to me and kind of mentioned it that, she was acting like she was drunk. And I was like, no, like she's just like that. She's bubbly. She's like energetic. She just, she's super fun.
Yep.
And then there was a night where I was serving the guests and she was up in the pilot house. And like all I heard as I'm like putting this plate down in front of this like charter guest is her screaming at him that she's going to call the Coast Guard if he touches her. Something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this seems a little dramatic. I find out after she got thrown off like the day before that she was like almost blackout drunk the entire time that she was on the boat
Wow.
with us, with guests. And not only that, after she got off and I was cleaning up, I was literally finding just cups of whiskey stashed all over the boat, like half drunk, like cups of whiskey.
Oh,
I was
wow.
like, okay, like if anything, like why whiskey? Like that just seems like
Right.
really aggressive.
Definitely. I feel like maybe a glass of wine you can
Yeah.
find here or there, like a beer, but to have
Yeah,
like hard
like
whiskeys, that is.
yeah. I was like, that's hardcore. I don't know.
So yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's to more of the extreme side of things. Do you
It
when
is. That's the most extreme.
so when you're on like a group of like 9, what is it like when you guys are off charters? Does everyone become really close? Do you have a kind of a family? Do you guys go out together? Like what is that life like when you're off charter?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, the crew that I've like been on with has been so much fun. You do kind of become like a family. And kind of like bicker back and forth like a family. Like you get your brothers, you get your sisters, you get the mom like of the group. So it's really fun, and it's you're just complete strangers, and all of a sudden you're all just living together, and you kind of like have to make it work. And sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. So yeah, this crew, we love to like, the deckhand loves to go kiteboarding. We all like to go free diving. So we'll go and, find a spot and go free diving, or we like to go out and eat, have drinks. We love to go dancing. So wherever we are, we kind of just like pick a thing to go do that first night. And yeah, we kind of just enjoy each other's company. To be honest, when you are with each other for that long, you do like one night together, and then you kind of just break off into like little groups. And like, you and the bosun, you guys will like go off and do your own thing, or someone will just go off by themselves to the beach. So then it's nice, you just kind of disperse for a weekend, or we are definitely like family though. It's very fun.
That's good. So I guess it's like the balance though, because you don't get to choose who you work with. So technically you can come on a boat and not get along with people as well.
Yeah, and I've had that. I've jumped on a boat and I was not vibing with the chief stew, or the captain, and those were kind of the main people, or actually the chef either. It was like just not my kind of boat. And
Gotcha.
so I was on there for, I think, maybe like a month or two, and I was like, fly me home. I was like, I gotta go.
Done with it. Yeah, I could see that being like
I
one of
was
the
done with
parts
it,
of
yeah.
it. You could see one of parts of it because obviously, like you want to fit in, you want to be, close with people who you're living with essentially every day. And I'm sure the living quarters have to be quite small for the boats, correct?
Yeah, it kind of just like depends on the build. So
Okay.
Italian builds are notorious for having very small crew accommodations. And then like Fed ships, they have beautiful accommodations. So yeah, it kind of depends on the one. The one that I'm on now is pretty small, like very small for like 9 people.
Yeah.
But you have to make it work. Like we have this little like crew mess dance, for everyone to be able to like fit in around the table to eat, or like everyone gets up to get coffee and like you're like hopping around each other. So it's fun though. It's just, you just make it work, and like everyone understands. So it's just funny to like that at that
Yeah.
point.
So what would you say is like the best thing about being in the yachting industry and either the worst or hardest thing about being in the industry?
So I'm gonna say both is travel. So the best part is all the travel that you get to do. You're not paying for anything, you're saving up. And by everything, I mean you're not paying for food, toiletries, um, like anything, rent, all of that, you're basically on here and they're taking care of you, which is nice. And then you get to go and see these amazing places and do these experiences that you've never been able to do before. But then on the other side, I work with some international people that haven't been home in like 2 years.
Um,
Um, so that's also, kind of a disheartening thing, is because you don't get to see like your friends or your family, as much as you would want to. And I say that lightly, but permanent positions, you get a certain amount of days a year that you can take leave. So that's a little more difficult than if you were to freelance. So I was freelancing before this, and I would do a job for like 4 months, and then I would take 3 months off and go home and see my mom, and then do another job for like 3 months and then go home. And so I really like freelance. Very for
sounds.
freelance. Um, yeah, you just get to choose your schedule a little more. But yeah, I'd probably say traveling for both.
And then, yeah, I could definitely see how it's amazing because you get all the experiences, but at the same time, you're not technically in charge of your own schedule. So it's like that balance between the two.
Yeah, right.
So, what would you say for someone who like really wants to get into the industry? Like, is it difficult to break into? Because I've heard a lot of things, people being like, it is really hard to get on a boat, or you need to kind of just like immerse yourself in it, go, dock to dock and go talk to people? Like, what is the best way people get involved? Is it difficult? What kind of insights do you have for them?
So when I was first getting started, because I have, heard a lot of people have told me that some of the jobs are saying that you have to have experience, and they're asking, well, how do I get experience if I'm new? I'm green, like I haven't been on this before. So my best advice when I was first getting started, I actually got hooked up with an agent, and there's a few different websites that give you a personal agent, and they kind of go out and they know how to navigate these websites to find, it's called like green okay. So these boats are saying that, yeah, if you're new, like you can come on here and we can teach you basically. um there is, like what you said, dock to dock, so that's called dock walking. And personally, I've never done it, but all of the like OG yachties say that it's a must. It's a must to do. It's like a initiation into the industry. And I've heard, success stories with that as well. But I also would say, there's a website called Daywork 123, and that was like my main go-to when I was getting started. And to get experience, I just went and day worked. So these yachts would hire me for a week, and I would come in with the stews, or if you want to be deck, you'd go in with the deck, and they kind of just tell you what they need to be done in this amount of week. And they're kind of helping you along, telling you, oh, do this, do this. So you kind of get like a little bit of experience. You get to work on a yacht, you get to be around the environment. And I think that helped me as well, because I mean, it was a almost 300-foot yacht that I was working on and detailing and stuff. And I got to learn from this chief stew. That was great. So, and then you just kind of beef it up onto your CV. Like if you're saying you're detailing, like you're detailing. So
Yep.
yeah, that'd probably be the best way to get into it.
And then where are the hubs? Because I know there's like certain areas around the world where yachting is like massive. So where are kind of the main hubs where a lot of the jobs are?
If you're in the States, Fort Lauderdale is the place to go. And then if you're over, on the Europe side, it's Antibes, Palma. I think Barcelona, I think, is a pretty big spot, and same with Monaco. Um, I think those are like kind of the main. Yeah. I feel like I'm missing one. I swear there's, but yeah, I think those are like the big like main guys.
Yep.
Fort Lauderdale is, I mean, it's the largest yachting capital in the world. So that would be, if you're from the States, you have to go there. I mean, I started off in Seattle, but that was, like a smaller boat. And I think that helped me to break into the industry. But if you really want to get on these cool, big super yachts, definitely Fort Lauderdale. And it's like everyone's there. All the yachties are there. So it's fun.
Yeah, because I've definitely heard before, like it's best to kind of go to those like hubs to kind of break in, meet people if you don't have like an agent, like you were saying before. But it sounds like things are getting a bit, I don't want to say easier, but a bit, less on just you now to break in if you have these agents.
Yeah, it is. And the agents are like very, they're very helpful. Because they really know the industry well. They probably are coming out of, being a stew or being a deckhand as well, or any sort of exterior and any sort of interior. And so they kind of know what good jobs are going to, be a good fit for you, what you're looking for, what you're expecting. So yeah, it's great if you can get an agent. If not, go and get some day work in there.
Yeah. So, what is like a day-to-day life on charter look like for you? Like, how early are you starting? How late are you working? Do you have like a schedule? How does it kind of work day to day?
Yeah, so I'm second stewardess, and basically the chief stew kind of sets, you know, when your break is. And so on this boat, my chief stew, she's early girl. So she wakes up, you know, before the guests get up and she's doing her thing. But I'm late girl. So whatever time that I went to bed the night before, I'm getting 8 hours and then I'm waking up, and usually I'm waking up just after breakfast or when lunch is about, you know, we need to start setting up for lunch. So if I'm waking up at, let's say, 10:30, be up by 11, then I go outside, I kind of help her clean up with breakfast, and then I start setting up for lunch. So I'm doing the table decor, getting all the glasses, plate, cutlery ready, and the chief stew comes and helps, but I'm usually the one like running lunch just because it's, you know, it's pretty light and easy and it's not too much to handle. And then after that's done, chief stew goes down for her break. And then it's me and the third stew that are up, and we're kind of just hopping around. I told someone else, like, you want to check in with the guests. So we'll like know where they are, but you don't want to like be bugging them. So if they call you, like you're in an arm's reach, but you're not sitting there like, do you need anything? Like,
Yeah.
Can I get you anything? Like not like hovering. So yeah, so we're kind of just going around, like we'll go and we'll tidy up like the main salon, or we'll go down into the beach club, restock some drinks. It's pretty light. If they go off for lunch, then me and the third stew, we like to like jump off the boat and go for like a swim. We've done that a couple of times. The toys will be out and we'll go rip around like on like a jet ski or something. And then I go down on my break around 4, 2-hour break. And after that, I'm coming up for cocktail hour. So I'm usually doing cocktails. Chief stew goes and does the canapes. The dinner table is set up. And then that's when chief stew and I start doing service. And then, yeah, if they want cocktails after dinner, I'm the one that's staying up, or a cigar, or they want to play games. I've had to, you know, do karaoke for them, like set everything up. And then, yeah, whatever time they go down, I have to clean up. So sometimes all 4 levels, beach club, the main deck aft, upper deck aft, and the sky lounge are all set up. So sometimes it takes me like 2+ hours to get everything put away. So I've gone to bed at like 3 a.m. before, which is
some late nights.
Again, I'm not a morning person. Like I'd much rather like work late.
No, I totally get that. I'm kind of the same way. So have you had any like crazy experiences with guests, or crazy just, you know, stories on the boat that like you can share that you're kind of like, is this my life, or like this is just a wild experience?
Oh. Like, are we like keeping things like PG here?
Or? No, you can go for it. Fully go for it.
I've been in, you know, put into some pretty interesting situations. As far as, you know, crazy stories go, there was one day, this was the boat that I got off after like a month and a half, 2 months. This is that boat.
Gotcha.
And it was when we were crossing from Fort Lauderdale over into La Paz. And we finally made it into La Paz. And so it was a month that I was on this boat. And I was kind of already noticing that there was like substance abuse going on. And when we finally got in, we decided to go and do like a beach day, the chef, the captain, and I. And Chief Stew stayed back and whatever. So we bring all the toys, we bring our wake surfboard, we have the little tender, we have our fins, we have our snorkels. And Captain decided to bring, you know, his bottle of Don Julio 1942. Excuse me, like 2 bottles of like 1942.
Nice.
And I was like, damn, okay, like we're popping off. I know. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, that's nice. And so we're laying on the beach, we're having a good time listening to music. And, it got to the point where we finally decided, okay, let's go wake surfing. And I greatly underestimated how drunk the captain was. And, we got into the tender and I was the one driving the tender and we were trying to pop him up. Like you're in the water and it's kind of like a wakeboard. You just kind of roll up and you start going. And he was like really good at wake surfing. And this man could not get up for the life of him. And it still didn't cross my mind. I was like, wow, he's having like a really off day. I'm so naive. But now that I'm like seeing these stories, I'm like, my God. And finally, his like speech started to slur and I was like, oh my God, he's like hammered. I was like, okay, like let's get him into the boat, I was like, Chefy, you can drive. He pushes the chef out of the way. I'm behind, I'm about to go. Pushes the chef and he's like, no, this is my boat. I'm the captain. I'm gonna drive. And we're like, oh, good God. So I start going, and where we were in this like little hole, it was very shallow in some spots. There was big reefs. And I remember thinking in my head, I was like, I swear to God, if this guy goes and drives over like these reefs. And as soon as that happens, I hear this huge pop. And I look up, the tender is like shot into the air, like the engine is like shot into the air. I'm flying off the board.
Oh my God.
And I'm like in the water. I cut my knee open. I like look up and I'm just like, oh my God. I was like, we just hit a reef. And so I'm getting back into the boat. I'm pissed. Like I'm livid. I was like, this is so unprofessional. I was like, I cannot believe this. So I'm like, we need to go. I was like, it's time to go. Like, and me and the chef are like, yeah, let's dip out. So we're driving home and I'm like physically, we put the sea bob, we put all of the toys on top of the captain because he kept trying to like jump out. And we were like, no, geez, like sit down, like for your own safety, you just sit down. And so we're driving and the chef is driving. And at this point, I'm also not realizing that he was also like drunk. I just like so there's these big like 8-foot by 8-foot channel markers that are metal. And they're massive. Okay, so you can't miss them. This man is like almost flat out just hauling ass, right? Because we're trying to get home. We're like, we got to get this captain off. And I'm watching this channel marker get closer and closer. And I'm like kind of looking around and I'm like, it's odd. He's going to cut this a little close, don't you think? Finally, we're like 10 feet away from it. And I turn around. I'm like, what? Like, I just scream at him and we smack into this thing.
Oh my God.
The toys go off. Like, we're like ejected like onto the side. Oh my, like I cannot, like in that moment in time, I think I just saw red. Like I took over, I put both of them in the front, I sat them down. I was like, you guys just like shut the fuck up and sit down. I'm like, I was done. And I just puttered home at like 5 miles an hour. I was like, no. I was like, 2 times in one day is far too much for me.
Yeah. How was the boat?
Oh, it was so beat up. It was so beat up. I didn't stay long enough for them to actually start doing repairs. The propeller was bent. The whole side was like side swiped from that, like just a huge mark. The wake surfboard had a huge gash in the middle from me hitting the reef. Like that was like completely done. Oh, it was horrible. Like so much stuff happened on that boat that we don't even have time for. But like I did like keep going.
Wow. That is crazy. Especially because like obviously the captain's like your boss. So it's like for that to be like the person who's supposed to be like in charge of you to happen is wild.
Right. Yeah. And like I want to tell these stories not to like throw people off like coming into this like industry because it's not always like that. Yeah. I've never heard a story like that. I just like want like if people do get put in that situation, like just take over. Like, just
Yeah.
don't even listen. Like, don't listen to anyone. Just save yourself like the heartache and just do your own thing. If you know what's right, just go for it. Like, it does happen, and you kind of have to be smarter than the captain sometimes. Like, they don't know everything.
Yeah.
Especially the bad ones. Like, there's some bad captains out there.
Jeez, it's wild. And in terms of like guests, is there a big like kind of variation in a really amazing guest and then ones who come on and can be a bit of like assholes per se? Do you find that there's variation, or do you think that or see that most people come on are kind of like respectful or just fun to kind of have on board?
Yeah. There are guests. You know, I've been pretty fortunate. I've had really amazing guests. And ones that like I've gone out on the tender because they wanted me to come out and come snorkeling with them in the Bahamas. So there is like a very big not perspective, spectrum.
Yeah.
And I haven't really seen the worst of it. I've heard horror stories. I've heard horrible horror stories. And of course you get like, not even on charter, like sometimes you get owner guests that come on and they're making passes at you. And you're kind of just like, you know, what do I do in this situation?
Yeah.
Nothing like life threatening. They're just kind of like, oh, you know, like, I've had a few much to drink. Are you going to drive me home tonight? I'm like, no, actually, I'm not. Like, but enjoy your
Definitely
dinner.
no.
Like, you kind of still have to be like, yeah, like politely no, respectfully no. So yeah, I mean, it is because you're working with people who, I mean, they have a lot going for them. And I think that gets to their head a lot. And again, it's just not worth it. Like, if you are put into a situation, there's been boats that I know that have banned guests from ever coming back onto that boat and onto other future charter boats because they were so horrible. So there are things, you know, that boats can do. But again, thankfully I haven't had any bad ones. I've really just had like some very, you know, amazing ones.
That's awesome. And then so with all of your kind of yachting and working on the boats and stuff, you've been posting a lot on TikTok and you've kind of grown this audience to show what your life is like. So walk us through how that's been, how it kind of started, and where it's kind of taken you doing all of that.
Yeah, this has been a wild ride and I'm so excited for it. I started this actually when I was on my first boat, and you know, I started doing the normal like dances, lip syncing. I didn't even think about doing, you know, yachting stuff. Until I think I was doing like a TikTok dance, but I was in my uniform. You know, I had like my little skirt on and my little polo, and I was on like the interior of a yacht. And it sparked. Like, people were like, you know, oh my God, is this below deck? Like, do you know below deck people? Like, is your job like below deck? I was like, okay. I was like, yeah, like, let's teach you guys about it. So I kind of just fell into it. I think there was like one or two other people on TikTok that were doing like yachting stuff. So it was a very, very small niche. And I just started showing, you know, how to get into it, the fun stuff that I've been able to do, the basics, like what I do in a day. And, you know, people were really into it, I think, because it opened their eyes as to there's like some pretty cool like nomadic jobs out there where you can travel and work and save and, you know, do other things besides go straight into a corporate or go straight into, you know what I mean? So yeah, and I mean, I think I've had it for, probably 2 years, like seriously now. I've grown to 337,000 followers. And that has opened up doors that I haven't even thought of. I started getting invites to, you know, the Fort Lauderdale Boat Show as to be a social media like presence and
Yep.
show off the boats and show off the show. I've been asked to do articles and interviews and, again, all stuff that I really enjoy. Like I love teaching people about it because, it just breaks people out of like a cycle that they didn't know that could be broken. And it's very fun for me. It was never to, become like big. It was just to kind of help people. And it's been so much fun. Like I love it. And I would love to go, further with that. Once I do get out of the yachting, as a stewardess, I would like to stick in the yachting industry and continue to help people and kind of just, run like a social media page and teach people about it.
Yeah, I think it's so awesome. And I think it definitely goes to show what I talk to my audience about all the time is like, you never know what doors can open when you just put yourself out in these like, not normal jobs or lifestyles or whatnot. Like obviously when you went into yachting, you had no idea that this TikTok and social media and what could open up for you and the different path or, the way you can all take it now. And it just goes to show like if you put yourself out there and you just, take the first step because I think so many people hold themselves back from kind of doing these things because they're like, all right, well, I can get into yachting, but I don't know if I want to be a stewardess until I'm 45. Like, and they think so far ahead that they actually don't do it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And
I totally agree with that. Because a lot of people have asked, like, is this your life career? And I'm like, no. I'm not going to be, serving people until I'm 50. Like, that's just not what I envisioned for myself. But right out of college, or like if you decide not to go to college and there's a great way to go and travel and see the world and save up like your money, like go and do it. Oh my God. Like, I'm so grateful that, my mom kind of pushed me to even just like look at this industry. Cause at first I was, I was like, what is it? Like, what do? You're just serving people. And I was kind of like put off by it. And then as soon as I started talking to this chief stew, I was like, I was dead wrong. I was like, this is amazing. And again, I think I'm so glad you reached out because your podcast, perfectly fits in with this. And, if they want to learn more, I have videos on it. I can, I do like little stew tip Tuesdays. If someone is wanting to become a stew, I kind of show what I've learned, along the way. So I'm so glad you have me on here because I feel like it's a good fit.
Yeah, definitely. I'm super excited to have you on. And I reached out and I was like, I really hope she comes on because it's something so different than the normal, like just start your online business, whatever. Because some people don't want to go directly into that. They don't want to be a 9-to-5. They don't want to be a business owner. So it's like, what can you do to actually travel? And this is a great way for you to kind of dip your feet in and see where it takes you and see where it goes from there. And then obviously, like you said, with your social media and stuff, you share so many tips. So where can people reach you? Like if someone has questions, how can they get in contact with you?
Instagram DM, which honestly is flooded right now. So I also would say I see a lot of TikTok comments. And when I see the comments, I make a video on it. So if I see enough questions about one certain thing, like that's when I go on and I say, okay, I've been getting these questions, like here's what you do. I really try and keep up with my Instagram DMs. That's like the main place that people go. So I am constantly checking it. It just might take me a minute to get back to them.
I mean, you are also working like, on your actual charter. So it's not like you're fully just on social media all the time.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah. It does it gets a little hard, but I love it.
Of course. So where can people find you? What are your handles for TikTok and Instagram if they want to come check out all your stuff?
So Instagram, I'm just Emery Walrich, EmeryWallerich. And TikTok, I am That Yachty Girl. And Yachty is YACHTIE. That Yachty Girl.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. Honestly, it's been such a great fresh breath breath of fresh air, geez, for people to kind of hear just like a different perspective, some stories, the fun behind it all, even the crazy times. But I think it all kind of, encapsulates the whole experience. But thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was great talking with you. I think this is a great, great podcast. Best one there's been, I think.
Thanks. So I always end asking people, like, what's the best piece of advice you've gotten from someone that's kind of helped you, propel your life into this no, uncharted territory for people outside the 9 to 5?
I would probably say this is one that I've lived by. I think since I've gotten out of college and started this whole new adventure is never stop learning. Because I mean, in anything in life, like if you're not learning something new every day, it helps you grow, and it kind of keeps your mind focused on it's okay that you don't know everything. It's okay that you're not sure where you're going in life. You're learning, like you're vibing, you're learning about like the life that you want. So I live by that strictly. Like when I'm getting nervous or anything, or I'm going on to a new job, like it's okay, you don't know everything, be a sponge, just start learning.
Absolutely, absolutely love that. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Everyone who wants to go follow, see Emery's content, the tags will all be in the show notes below, so you can go follow her and check her out. Send her a DM. Just go look to see what the lifestyle is like. It definitely won't hurt, and it might inspire you to go after something completely different. So, thanks so much for coming on. And yeah, all my crazy nomads, keep listening. There'll be more episodes coming, and can't wait for it.